Hey, American Express card members, you don't want to miss this. Now through December 31st, there's a big reason for you to shop small at local stores in your neighborhood. Learn more and enroll your eligible card today at americanexpress.com/shop small offer. Terms apply.
Hey, college football fans, I'm Adam Rittenberg. What did the committee teach us with the second edition of its rankings? We break it down and discuss who could break through on the latest Championship Drive podcast.
This is Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Tonight, Dwayne Wade is going back to Miami for the first time wearing a visiting uniform.
I don't think there will be a bad feeling toward Dwayne Wade this evening.
There's no question.
I agree.
The first thing you do at the end of every play of an NFL game is look to see if the little yellow thing comes up that says there's a flag.
Could not agree more.
Jim Harbaugh was talking about his favorite character, and that character is
SpongeBob. He attacks each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Now, here's Mike and Mike.
Here we are. We are Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It's been a busy morning for those. Today, really good conversation. Mark Schlereth was in here earlier. Dan Le Batard was with us a little while ago. Booger McFarland was just in our studio for an hour. Brian Billick today. We have, as I mentioned, Trent Dilfer coming up. By the way, Stu Gotts is mad at me. So when
I don't blame him. You dissed him.
When we had Le Batard on, I said that Le Batard every single day does his, I forget how I said it now, overcoming the obstacle.
Right, that's Stu Gotts.
That is Stu Gotts.
Uh-huh.
Stu Gotts texted me at 8:38 a.m. today. That's it. We're finished, Greenie. No more Stu Gotts sauce for you. It's a horrific, foul-tasting sauce that I only share with a very select few, and you are no longer privy to it. Congratulations.
Wow. See, because a lot of people think he tries to be the poor man's you, or is the poor man's you, which I told him, change. Don't do that. Don't go down that road.
Okay, go ahead.
No,
I was going to make a joke I don't want to make.
No, but he listens, and he takes things personal. Now, listen, he does a show with my son on Sunday mornings, weekend observations from 7 to 9 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Mike goes and fills in down there when Dan's off. So he and Stu Gotts have formed this friendship. So I've gotten to know Stu Gotts a little bit more as well. But he does. He respects you a lot. So I think that had to really hurt him when you dissed him. I think you really hurt Stu Gotts. I think you cut him deep, and I think he bleeds.
But what color? I mean, I don't know that his blood can't be red.
No,
there's just no way.
His blood is alcohol.
Stu Gotts.
Yeah, tequila.
I'm not sure what planet he's from, but it's not this one.
No, it's absolutely not.
Okay, Mike and Mike, we got a lot to get to this morning. It feels good just to talk a little football, which we've done for a lot of this morning. With the world still reverberating from the election the other day, and certainly within the world of sports, that's been the case as well, and we've played you a lot of that. But I did want to go back a little bit here to what we were just talking about with Booger, because let's do an exercise. All right, I've got the top 25 from this week. I just put a little dot next to the number of teams, or each team that I still think, Golic, has a chance of getting into the Final Four. Without looking at it closely, what number do you think I came up with? How many teams do you think I identified as still having
9.
a chance? Higher.
12.
12 is correct.
Really?
12.
12 teams.
So let me run through them for you. You tell me if you agree or where you disagree.
You could almost make a scenario. Go ahead.
All right, so the obvious ones: Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, Washington, Ohio State, and Louisville. Those 6 go without saying.
Well, 5 control their own destiny.
But forgetting control your own destiny, that I could even realistically see getting in, because we have this stat that Hembo gave us yesterday. At this exact stage in the process last year, after the second week of this thing, Oklahoma was 12th, right? And Michigan State was 13th, and they got in.
I'm with you. Keep
going.
I'm
not talking about controlling your destiny.
Okay, I'm with you.
So
Louisville, yes.
Those are the 6.
Wisconsin's got
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I do not put Texas A&M. I do not think they have a path to get in. I don't think there's any way in the world Texas A&M gets in. Do you agree or disagree?
I think I would lean toward the side of agreeing with you.
I think Auburn does.
I think Auburn does as well.
Then I'm just doing these in the order in which they show up. At number 10 is Penn State. I do not think they have a way in.
I do not either.
Oklahoma at 11, I think, does. I think it's a
very small.
Incredibly unlikely.
Very slight.
But I don't think we can say it's impossible. I then also identified Colorado, Utah, and North Carolina as the teams that have, while outside chances, chances to get in. And that's it. I don't see any way anyone else. You can look at the teams that are still in there anywhere. I don't see any way anyone else gets in. If you look at the things that would have to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
The ways that a 2-loss team gets in this, even winning a conference championship, cannot happen for some of those teams that are below that.
Right.
The only ones I could see is if somehow Colorado or Utah wound up winning the Pac-12, and even that I think would require a bunch of other losses.
But that's, I had brought that up earlier in the week, and I agree. If they come back through and beat an undefeated Washington team in the Pac-12 championship, they could have a say, but other stuff would have to happen.
Yeah,
yes.
because you would need somewhere Ohio State and Michigan each to lose a game.
But they could do it.
But it's not inconceivable.
Slight.
So that's 12. Is there anyone, as you look over the list?
No. As you said that, I think I agree with you. You know, North Carolina is an interesting one. I believe they play tonight, right? They play Duke.
They do.
Tonight?
They play Duke on ESPN.
Yeah.
I think it's insanely unlikely.
I think it is
for North Carolina, but it's not completely impossible.
As we go down the list, obviously the percentage gets smaller and smaller. Oh, by the way, you want to watch a little bit of that game tonight. This is the quarterback, and Mitch Trubisky, who right now Todd McShay has as a number 1 rated quarterback in the draft coming up.
So he doesn't have a first-round grade.
No, he has. His grade is 88. The highest quarterback grade, according to Todd, is an 88 right now. But he is the top-rated one if you want to get a look at what he can do.
That actually creates in and of itself an interesting little question, because the Browns, who had the opportunity to draft Carson Wentz last year, and look, it's too soon to say Wentz is going to be a great player, but he's gotten off to a nice start, even with some of the struggles in the last few weeks. You have to love what you've seen from Carson Wentz this quickly, right? I mean, you would agree with that?
Yes, without question.
So they traded away the right to draft him and put themselves in a position where they're now in this draft. Maybe it was because people were projecting Deshaun Watson at that time in ways that they aren't currently.
A lot of people almost were saying guaranteed number 1 pick. And then it went to Deshaun Kaiser from Deshaun Watson. And Kaiser has been up and down to the point where he got pulled out of a game. Trubisky has elevated himself up as well. There's Kaya from Miami in that mix as well.
So the Browns could wind up, as my point, winless with the number 1 pick in the draft and not have a quarterback, still not be able to address their quarterback situation.
Exactly right.
So unless they think that Kessler, who's on their sideline now, and is playing for them now, I should say, is going to be the answer long term. At minimum, Mike, I think he's their quarterback next year.
I think we have to understand one thing with the Cleveland Browns. In a league where you can turn it around in a year, their plan isn't to turn it around in a year. The plan isn't going to be a year thing. So if there isn't that quarterback available, do you take a Myles Garrett, the tall, lanky, but a very athletic pass rusher out of A&M and help your defensive side of the ball and continue to build? You put him with Jamie Collins, who you just traded for from the New England Patriots. You kind of solidify that side a little bit and build from there. Because we've talked about some of the offensive pieces that we like for the Cleveland Browns, but they're certainly, you're right, they're not solidifying their quarterback position with this draft early on, that's for sure.
They're going the Theo Epstein route. And look, it's impossible to argue with the success of that. Now, it's not as easy to do this in football as it is in baseball.
And the big difference is we've seen football teams turn it around in a year.
Yeah.
Usually you don't go through these 5-year or longer plans. That's been outdated in football, but that's kind of the Browns, and bringing in the baseball mentality of it, are saying this is a process, but other fans and owners have seen their teams turn around in a year to be relevant and pushing for the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So this may take some getting used to say, be patient, be patient, be patient.
Plus, I think it's a lot easier to be patient if you're developing a quarterback you believe in.
Agreed.
If you're a fan, because who are you asking patience of? It's the fans. It's not of anyone else.
Yes, you are.
So for me, for example, as a fan of the New York Jets, I'm extremely disappointed that their season is meaningfully over, having only played 9 games. But I'm kind of excited
to see what they have.
To see when Bryce Petty and or Christian Hackenberg get out there.
I'm with you.
That actually does excite me. So if you're the Browns and you're going to be 2-14 next year, but you're going to be 2-14, but you're going to be watching, I'm just throwing names out there, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, whoever it is, develop and you can see kind of the future building, I live with it. Why did Peyton Manning throw 109 interceptions as a rookie?
Yeah.
And they didn't win a lot of games, but it was fun to watch. So you could see something coming along. Well, they're not going to have that to sell next year.
Let's see if they have it with Cody Kessler. I mean, Cody Kessler was taken before Dak Prescott, was he not?
He was?
Yeah. So let's
So
see.
was Christian Hackenberg.
Yeah, so
there were a lot of people.
So let's see where they go. The biggest issue for the Browns, and this is what they need to improve upon, is go over the number of forgetting quarterbacks, first-round picks that have been horrific picks. That goes on the people making the picks for the most part. And you want to say coaches and not developing those players. Some you can, but they have been awful picks. So that's one of the big things, not just the quarterback position, but if they take Myles Garrett, he needs to be productive in the NFL and not just a DB or a linebacker or an O-lineman who you take early that doesn't project. And you're like, well, because it's one thing to blow it with an early quarterback. We know how that sets you back. But if you blow it time after time with your first-round pick, that also ain't helping. So they need one of these guys to pan out.
Mike and Mike, to spin it back before we turn to some other things, to the college discussion we were having, if you're wondering if there's a spot that Washington could fall from the ranks of the unbeaten, this weekend is the first of the really realistic places. Kirk Herbstreit is going to join us now. Herbie's $1 Million Moment is brought to you by Eckrich, and he's looking ahead to this weekend's matchup between Washington and USC.
Well, fellas, we have a great game out west where College Game Day will be with USC on the road against Washington. Two of the hottest quarterbacks in the country, with Browning going up against Darnold. Right now, Jake Browning is executing. Look at his touchdown-interception ratio, been best in the country. But all of a sudden, Sam Darnold has this USC offense on a roll. His ability to move around in the pocket creates so much attention for a defense, and it's opening up one-on-one opportunities on the outside for the very talented group of wide receivers for SC and Ronald Jones in the backfield. The question is, can Washington at home, with that nasty home field crowd, can they slow down Sam Darnold after he's looked as good as anybody these last 4 weeks? And can Jake Browning continue to play the way he has all year against a much more athletic SC defense?
Find out how you can join Herbie at the 2017 National Championship game by visiting EckrichFootball.com and your shot at your $1 Million Moment.
Monster game. All of a sudden, SC has really come back into the fold, back into the rankings as well, sitting at, number 20. They've jumped into a 5-game winning streak. In 4 of those games, there's been at least 40 points. As Herbie mentioned, with Donald at quarterback, that's a test for Washington. Again, Washington, over the last few years, is either 3rd or 4th in sacks with just the front 4. They don't blitz. They get it with their front 4. Now, they have lost their top pass rusher, who hadn't played in the last 3 weeks anyway, now had foot surgery and is out, so the sacks have been down a little bit because of that. He possibly could make it back, for one of those late bowl games if they're in the playoffs. We'll have to wait and see. But I love their front 4 rushing and stopping the run. Love their quarterback, their receivers. I like their offensive line as well. But this is a monster test. I'm starting to buy in more and more to Washington as I watch them. And sure, just as I do, I'll watch them trip up here against SC. But this is a place they could. And then in their last game against Washington State, who's ranked 23rd now, sitting there at 7-2 overall. So they, as I said, while they're non-conference, and Booger talked about it, they played a Big Ten team in Rutgers, but Rutgers is not a good team, and then their other non-conference games certainly were not good at all.
Can I give you a but?
You can give me a but. I just really quickly, just so I say them, Idaho and Portland State were the other ones, but their remaining schedule is the strongest of any of the undefeated teams.
Listen, after this weekend is over, I believe their strength of schedule will be harder than Michigan's. Michigan is playing Iowa this week, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a good game, and Iowa's a good team. But they are not currently ranked by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. Washington is playing USC. They're 20th. Right now, Washington's strength of schedule in the country is 67th. Michigan's is 60th. It's not that much better.
Nope.
The difference there is negligible. Now, Clemson's is 28th. Alabama's 3rd. That's why they are where they are. Mm-hmm. But Washington, by the time it's all said and done, their strength of schedule is going to compare favorably with any of the teams we're talking about.
That's what I mean. The rest of the way, they're the tops of the undefeated teams. They have the toughest remaining schedule, and so that'll help even that out a little more. That's why I couldn't disagree with Booger more. If Washington is undefeated, and with that scenario of Bama losing to Auburn in a close game and then Auburn winning the SEC, would Bama still go with one loss over a team like a Pac-12 undefeated champion Washington? I don't think there is any way that would happen. Do you?
No.
No, no way could I see that happen.
I don't, but No, I don't. The answer to your question is no, I don't. It would be impossible to do. I remember the year in the BCS system we had 3 unbeatens, and Auburn was the team that wound up getting left out. Right? It was Oklahoma. Yes. Played somebody for the national championship game, and Auburn was the team that got left out. And
right.
They won a bowl game, and they gave out championship rings and all that. Right. They wound up running the table and getting left out because there was only room for 2 teams. There's room for 4 now. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I find it impossible. The only way I could ever see an unbeaten power conference champion getting left out is if there were 5 of them.
Oh, exactly.
And by definition, they'd
have to. Yeah.
Unless, I guess maybe this year, if one of the Big 12 teams
were undefeated.
You could have seen that if Alabama was the team with 1 loss. Because Alabama is going to be the team that, if they should lose like an overtime game or something like that, seems almost impossible. Again, our analytics say Alabama has a 79% chance to beat Auburn at home the last week of the season. Alabama's not going to lose. So this is probably completely irrelevant. But it is worth considering because they're the one team I think would be the hardest to leave out of all of this. All right, Mike and Mike, you have any fantasy football questions, you can ask them to our boy Hembo. Paul Hembekides, he's our researcher. He does Hembo Knows, which is our fantasy football Periscope today at noon Eastern. Tell you who to start, who to sit, everything else. It's on the Twitter handle at Mike and Mike. Hembo Knows today, noon Eastern on Periscope. Then there's an awful football game tonight. You got Baltimore and Cleveland playing on Thursday Night Football tonight. The crews switch over. So up until this point, it's been the CBS guys, right. Nance and Sims, who've done the Thursday nights. And starting tonight, it'll be Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. I saw an interesting note. This will be the first time in 150 games they've done together that they do the Browns. Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. And look, here's the deal. We've been talking a lot all season long about how the NFL numbers have been down. And some of the reason has been attributed to the election. Now, the election, to say the election's over, I think, is a little premature.
There is still the aftermath, yes.
The voting has come and gone.
The voting has gone, and we know it's going to keep going for a while. But in certain sects, like sects of the country, and I don't mean sex.
No, I know what you meant.
Country,
yes.
Like in the sporting world, I think people are going to move on and play their games, and that's how we're going to be.
But the point is, I think that at least for a few more days, things like cable news channels and all of those will still have ratings that are disproportionate to what they normally do. At some point, that will calm itself down. And whenever that does, it will be before the end of the football season. My question to you is, will the NFL ratings see a quick bounce back?
I don't know if they'll see a hit because I think there are many reasons. I think the election year is one of those reasons, but I think there are many reasons why it's down that the league is going to have to address. There is no doubt there's contention, obviously, with players and with the league, that there are too many flags, that the games aren't as entertaining. So those are things that the league is going to have to look at. So do I think there'll be this major jump? Absolutely not. Do I think it could go up some? Possibly. But I don't know if it'll be a monster amount. This game last time they played this year, Cleveland was actually up 20. Do you know there have been 3 other times that a winless team played in prime time after Week 10?
Oh, don't tell me. 3 other
in Week 10 or later since 2001.
Played on
winless teams playing in prime time in Week 10 or later since 2001.
Well, there hasn't been Thursday Night Football that long. I don't remember exactly when they started. It
doesn't have to be, obviously, prime time.
Oh, I get it. I'm saying, so that would leave Sunday and Monday. I'm trying to think about when they started flexing the Sunday games, because we used to have Sunday, right? Yes. I mean, going back, during that period of time, ESPN would have had Sunday night. ABC had Monday night. I'm not going to get it. When was it?
First time, go back 2007. The Dolphins were 0-10.
Oh, weren't they both unbeaten? Wasn't it a matchup of 2 unbeaten teams?
2 winless teams, you mean?
2 winless teams? Am I getting that wrong?
Well, it doesn't say. It says they lost at the Steelers, and it doesn't say the Steelers
All right,
were
then
winless.
It wouldn't have been that, no.
2013, Tampa Bay was 0-8, and they won against the Dolphins, got their first win of the year.
I think the Dolphins were unbeaten then, too. Maybe I'm wrong.
Winless.
Yeah, I keep saying that backwards.
And the Raiders in 2014 were 0-10, and they won against the Chiefs. So the last 2 times it happened, the team that hadn't had a win got their first win of the season. And that was 2013, 2014. So we'll see what happens here.
All right, fair enough. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. In November, Progressive is giving thanks for our military service men and women by donating over 100 vehicles to veterans in need through the Keys to Progress program. To learn more, go to progressive.com/Keys to Progress. One sports note from the election is that 5 more teams, am I saying that right? I believe 5 more teams now play in states where marijuana is legal.
Yeah.
It's California and Massachusetts. So are there 5 teams playing in California? Whatever it is. And several more teams now, right? San Francisco, San Diego, the Rams, that's 3, and Massachusetts is, well, whatever. That legalized the recreational use of marijuana.
Right.
And that got me to thinking, do you believe that ball continuing to roll down the hill in the manner in which it is will at any point change the NFL stance on marijuana use?
I think eventually it will. You couple that with the NFLPA is in the process of forming a pain management committee to see if marijuana as well as other substances can aid in pain management. So there's that side of it as well. But as I said, anytime people want to bring that up now for the players like to smoke, and they're doing it recreationally, and that's the main reason they're doing it. But do I think eventually it will not be tested for or cared about by the NFL? Yes, I do think we'll end up going down that road, whether it's sooner or in the next CBA in 5 years when they're doing it and negotiating things, and that ends up just being, it could be a very quiet thing where it's on the books, but they're not testing for it.
Yes, that strikes me as overwhelmingly the easiest way to address this problem. If indeed you view it as a problem, just don't test for it. And then, someone would basically have to walk in and say, yes, I'm using this.
Or get busted for speeding and they have pot in the car, which is illegal, to where it's illegal to have it. Or so if it's on the books that it's illegal in your sport. There are ways. So to answer your question, do I think we're going down that road? Absolutely, I think we're going down that road.
There was an announcement made about one NFL quarterback yesterday that I think brings up a lot of very interesting questions, and we will bring on our own NFL quarterback to answer them next. That's after this word from 1-800-Flowers. Mike, football season is getting intense, and it's safe to say your loved ones are feeling the effects. They haven't seen your face in months. You can't give up now. Your team needs you. So before you disappear into the man cave for another weekend of football insanity, remind your special someone they're still your MVP with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com.
Here's the beautiful thing. When you order 36 incredible autumn roses, you're going to get them for $36. It's 1-800-Flowers, 36 for 36 deal. 36 stunning autumn roses, only $36 in this amazing offer. And, of course, every rose bouquet is backed by their 100% smile guarantee. 1-800-Flowers is the only company that we trust to deliver fresh from the field seasonal flowers. To order 36 stunning autumn roses for just $36, go to 1-800-Flowers.com on your desktop or your mobile device. Click on that radio icon and enter the code Mike. 1-800-Flowers.com. Click on the radio icon, enter the code Mike. The offer does end Friday. Back after this, Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike, our check of SportsCenter highlights. Get ready to hear things like this. 4 different Warriors made at least 4 threes in their win last night. That's a statistic you're probably going to have to get used to. They beat the Mavericks 116-95 last night. Get used to James Harden putting up big numbers, too. His 10th career triple-double. Rockets beat the Spurs on the road 101-99. And then we've got good college football tonight on ESPN and on ESPN Radio. There's number 17 North Carolina taking on Duke. And our SportsCenter with Mike and Mike is brought to you by AutoZone.
We're giving you a chance to be on the road with us to the national championship game. Just be listening every weekday for your chance to win the Mike and Mike on the road to the college football playoff sweepstakes. Presented by AutoZone. Visit Mike'sRoadToTheCFP.com for all the official rules.
All right, we're Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests like Trent Dilfer appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, and I want to give Trent credit. Trent, it might have been the last time that we spoke with you. Perhaps he's been on once since. But you were the one who said to us right before the season began about Dak Prescott that you did not believe Tony Romo would ever get that job back in Dallas. And I know a lot of people gave you a little heat for saying it, and right now you look like the smartest guy in the room.
Well, I feel like the dumbest guy in the room a lot of times, too, so it's glad to get one right every once in a while.
No, they're probably both accurate. One way or the other. So this is the question that I had when I saw the note that Romo has now been fully cleared. So it has become exclusively a coach's decision. Here comes the question to both of you football players. Trent, I'll start it with you. If you're Jason Garrett, what do you have to see to make you make the switch back? Meaning, does Dak Prescott get one bad game? Does he get two bad games? Rookies sometimes hit walls. It is Tony Romo you have sitting there healthy, ready to go. So I get that you're going to stick with Prescott now, but just how far are you willing to go if things start to turn in the other direction?
This is a hard one. For me, it'd be more than two stinkers. I think you would have to see Dak have more than two games where he was the reason they lost. Or he played just so poorly that you were having to overcome him to somehow win close games. I think everybody's going to have one. So that's inevitable. He's going to have a bad game. I didn't think he played very well against Philly until the end of the game and obviously overtime. So he's going to have another stinker somewhere along the line. If he has two, you just got to make sure it's not habitual. And you got to make sure it's not because it's something in his work ethic, his preparation. But then if he really hits a rookie wall and you're jeopardizing a fantastic season, well, then, yeah, I think there's an argument that you have a great quarterback sitting behind him that you bring him in.
For me, I don't know if there's some exact line. There certainly isn't that you could point to. It has to be a feel thing, but a lot would have to do with turnovers. If he started turning the ball over, there's playing poorly, but the rest of your team offense can help pick you up, and there's turning the ball over and putting your team in a bad position. If he were to go through a spate of that for a couple of games, I might have a thought process about it. But for the most part, I'm with Trent. You got to give him time because he is, at the end of the day, he is a rookie, and he is going to make some mistakes.
I get that, but my point is you have Tony Romo, who isn't a rookie. You have a Super Bowl season working.
As I said, it's a feel. I really think it's a feel, and I think turnovers would be a big part of it.
Trent, the other quarterback rookie situation that is gaining increasing amounts of attention is the one with Jared Goff, where he continues not to play in Los Angeles. They're not a very good team. Their starting quarterback, Case Keenum, is not playing very well. They gave up a lot to get the number one pick in the draft, and they're still not willing to put Jared Goff on the field. You know him well. You've known him an awful long time. Some people suggest this throws up a lot of red flags. What do you think?
Well, I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I asked permission. Could I share a little bit what we talked about when I was asked a question? He said, sure, because he's not politicking the play, but he is very, very confident in how much he's grown. He's very comfortable now with the offense. He feels like now he can do all the little things necessary to execute the offense. He sounded great, but, again, he's trying to be a pro, too. I think the other thing that Jared's learning is how to just be a professional and how to learn from Case Keenum and how to respect his coaches, and how to go to work every day diligently and put in the preparation even when there's no payoff for it on Sundays. I think it's time. But, again, you said it. I'm probably biased, too, when it comes to this situation. I thought it was time last week. I want to see him play. I've never been a believer you throw him out there day one. But I do think now, after they sit for a while, if they integrate into the system, the team, the culture of the locker room, that by mid-season, if the starter is not playing well, you should play the rookie. And now he should get a chance to get out there and lead this offense and get to know his guys in a game day environment and kind of get some of the hard stuff out of the way this year so that he can hit next year running.
How about a guy who started out hot, actually, affecting the game on the field, and that's Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. First 3 games, 3-0, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. They lost 4 or 5 since. 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a completion percentage down. We praised him, and we praised Doug Peterson early for not only his play, but how he was being coached and the position they were putting him in. What, in your mind, either with Carson or the team, has changed?
Well, I think they did deserve to be praised because they're exceeding expectations. I think Carson showed enough now where everybody's kind of said, yeah, this kid's going to be something else. But you're also going to struggle at times, and they're not as good as they were, or as they appeared to be early. Teams have started, as we say all the time, started writing a book on the quarterback. A lot of inside pressures are bothering him a little bit, but the biggest thing is that he's missing high. There's still open receivers. Doug's still calling a good game for him. He is now become a problem with Carson Wentz missing high. Most of his interceptions are overthrows to receivers. He's had some plays down the field, some touchdown passes that would have been there, but he misses high. In fact, we're going to geek out on Sunday countdown. I'm actually show why he's missing high from a mechanical standpoint. But it's something that needs to be addressed, and it's something he needs to fix. Otherwise, he's going to have a roller coaster career, because his good is really, really good. The problem is that the bad has become pretty awful.
Mike and Trent Dilfer, and I'm glad you mentioned mechanics and fundamentals, because that brings me perfectly to my next question. I always enjoy hearing you and Ron Jaworski and others talk about the fundamentals of quarterback play, of footwork, and all of that. And then I watch Derek Carr, who is currently my favorite player to watch in the entire National Football League, and he doesn't do any of it right. From what and even I can tell, without being as little of an expert on this as I am, even I can tell he's throwing off his back foot and he's moving in the wrong direction. The arm angle is coming from different places all the time, and yet the ball always gets where he wants it to get. What are your thoughts on what Carr is doing and his ability to do it for sort of an unconventional way?
Well, I think, for one, I think the feet are a little overrated when it comes to stepping into throws and not throwing off your back feet. I've told you guys, I started back and did this study since 1983 of Hall of Fame or Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, and found some consistencies in them. The feet were something that there wasn't one way of doing it. I'll say that. Where there was one way of doing it was from the waist up. Most every great passer our league has seen is pretty similar in their upper body mechanics. Some a little longer, some a little shorter, but the ball gets basically in the same positions. And Derek meets all those. He's so pure. We call it your stroke. His stroke is so pure, and that's why he's able to throw from some of the funky foot platforms. NFL quarterbacks have their platform right about half the time. Because of pass rush. So you have to be able to make all those throws with your feet in weird positions, your platform messed up. I don't mean to get too geeky, but I do think it's important for the fans to know that it's much more important what you do from the waist up, from the waist down, when it comes to actually releasing the ball. And that's what the great guys have figured out. They've trained themselves to play with their feet in crazy positions so the defense could never say, hey, if we take away his feet, he can't play. Well, now what Derek's been able to do, Brett Favre's done it, Aaron Rodgers done it, Brady's, I go on and on and on, is okay, go ahead, take away my feet. I can still get the ball to most places around the field accurately if I can control my upper body.
Just how good is that kid going to be, Trent?
I think phenomenal. Did I make you guys go to sleep right there with that nerdy football quarterback talk?
What? Say that again.
I didn't get that.
I'm sorry. I thought I might have made you guys fall asleep with all that nerd quarterback talk.
Oh, no, not at all. That's what I'm saying. So that's my question is, I watch him play, and again, I'm deferring to you because you do this better than anybody. I watch him play, and I say, that guy's on his way to being the best quarterback in football. Am I overstating that?
No, I think he's like Aaron Rodgers was the first, like maybe the second year he took over, where you could see it. You could see there's something different. There's something special. There's something that you really can't put our finger on about this kid. And Aaron's ascended to that, in that conversation. I think Derek's going to be in that conversation. But as long as Tom Brady's in this league and Aaron Rodgers is in this league, and Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers, that's a steep hill to climb. But, yeah, if he can do this, which I think he can for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, then I think we're going to be having that discussion of him being the best player in all football.
Trent, you deal with these high school quarterbacks in the Elite 11, guys that go on and play in college and in the NFL, and we talk a lot about the difference not only of college and then transferring that to the NFL, where you get them when they're in high school. So when you get these guys, and the Elite 11 is for a reason, these are the elite high school quarterbacks, when you get them, what's the biggest negative that they consistently have when you first get them, and what's your biggest message you give them and have them work on going forward?
The biggest would be most of them spent their entire careers throwing the ball to number one, the primary receiver. I would call it pick and stick, chuck and duck, whatever, either or. I mean, there's a bunch of terms for it, but the game's become so much about chalk, coaches out chalking one another. At the lower levels, that if they have good coaches, and most of them usually do when they're juniors, seniors in high school, that number one is going to be open, and when number one isn't open, then a series of bad events starts happening to their the way they play the game. So the biggest thing we try to teach them, the number one thing outside all the intangible stuff, which is most important to us, but from a game application standpoint, is tying your feet to your eyes. Literally, what I tell them, think of a string that goes from your eyelids down to your shoelaces. And every time your eyes move, your feet move. When your feet move left, your eyes move left. When your eyes move right, your feet move right. And when you start getting them to understand that in terms of progressions, now they're a little more comfortable after one's not open, trying to get to 2, falling off to 3. And I think that's why the guys that buy into it, they go to college and they're so accelerated in their learning that they're able to play earlier than most young guys, and then many of them go on to have incredible college and pro careers.
Trent Dilfer breaking down quarterbacks for us and everywhere is just about as good as anybody possibly can. Trent, thanks a million. See you this weekend.
Thanks for having me, guys. See ya.
Trent Dilfer with us. Mike and Mike take a quick break. A lot there to react to. We'll come back and do it right after this.
Cintas, getting you ready for the workday.
Mike and Mike, and a word from Sport Clips. Golic, Sport Clips Haircuts, and the VFW have partnered to provide scholarships to active duty U.S. service members and veterans for a degree or a vocational certification through the Help a Hero Scholarship Program.
Yep, these scholarships can help our nation's heroes receive the education they need to succeed in a post-military career. Not all U.S. service members qualify for 100% of the GI Bill benefits, and military tuition assistance does have its limitations, so these scholarships really help fill the gaps. Visit Sport Clips Haircuts now through Veterans Day, which is tomorrow, to learn more.
I really enjoyed our conversation with Trent Dilfer. I like hearing some of that. He referred to it as geeky stuff. I find it very interesting myself, the fundamentals of that position. And let's go over two of the conversations we had with him. First off, on Prescott. I do think it's interesting. And I don't know what exactly would be the last time we saw something like this happen, where a guy, Tony Romo, who is as accomplished as he is, now people will be with Tony, people are very quick to point out all the things he hasn't done.
Right.
He also has done a lot of things. He's a top-level quarterback who last year the team fell apart completely without him. So I'm not in any way saying that I would bench Prescott right now for Romo. Don't get me wrong. But what I am saying is there has to be a point. I mean, if Prescott starts to look like a rookie, where I would be very tempted to say, you know what, I've got a Super Bowl season working here, and I've got a top-notch veteran quarterback ready to go.
Just look right to the Philadelphia Eagles. Say Romo was part of that. You start out 3-0, you lose 4 of your last 5. And 4 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. So would there have been a point in these last 5 games in Philadelphia, had they been in this situation, where you would have told Carson Wentz, hey, go take a seat now for a little bit, given if they're in a run like the Cowboys are in, and we're going to bring this Tony Romo-esque guy back in. I don't know if there is an actual line that you look at and you say, oh, that's it, he hit it. It has to be a feel thing. I mean, they have a great season going, so he would really have to fall.
And look, I hope it doesn't happen. I've really enjoyed this story. It is one of the things that makes sports great. is for a guy who comes in, and it's not like no one knew who he was,
right.
But for a fourth-round pick to come in and for all of the discussion about the Cowboys before the season to be they're dead, they had no backup, and now all of a sudden Prescott is in the discussion for MVP of the league.
Right.
It's a magnificent story. But I do think it creates a fascinating dynamic that you have this established, successful veteran who, when he's been healthy lately, has played his best. 2 years ago was the best season Tony Romo ever had.
Isn't this Drew Bledsoe?
It's Bledsoe. Yeah, I guess it is that.
Sure
it's that scenario. And, I think a lot of people were surprised when Belichick stayed with Brady at that time. It sounds easy to say now.
Sure it does.
But at that time, I think that it was a bit of a surprising move. Jim Hill tweets, something to ponder. Does having Romo ready and waiting affect Prescott's confidence in any way? Let me even remove the word confidence. Do you think it affects Prescott in any way? Is he all of a sudden going to look over his shoulder?
This is where Jason Garrett needs to rectify that right now. And this conversation has to have already been had with Romo and with Dak, and that's exactly it. Don't be looking over your shoulder. When I'm not pulling you after your first interception or a bad play, you just go play. And don't worry about that because, yes, that would be the natural inclination. Even though he's playing well, you have this guy behind you who was getting paid a ton of money and had also obviously been playing well and been one of the better quarterbacks wherever you want to rank him. So, yeah, the natural thing is when you do something bad, is this going to be, if they start losing a couple and you're not playing well, nothing can stop your mind from that, and it will become more of a reality. But that's really right now where Jason Garrett really needs to stress to him, that's something you cannot worry about right now. You're on the field. When the offense goes out, you're the quarterback. Just go be the quarterback.
The only other way I'd look at it, again, I don't mean to keep bringing up bad things because I really don't want it to happen. I'm rooting for Prescott. But I am also thinking, if I'm Garrett, and you answer me this question, if in my mind I start to see some things that make me nervous, and I'm thinking when the playoffs start, I want Romo to be my quarterback, how many games does he have to have played? You're not going to bring Romo in there if he hasn't played the entire season.
No, you're not.
So do you need does he have to play 2 games, 3 games, 4 games? The time's running short here. So if in your mind you do think he's going to be the guy you want in the playoffs, when do you have to make that decision?
I don't think that's in their mind
at all. You're all in at this point.
No,
with Prescott.
Right now this is Dak's job, and if Dak screws up or starts to play badly, we'll address it at that time. But no, I don't think there's any way of Dak. This is your job, but boy, in the back of our minds when we get to the playoffs, we're giving it to Tony Romo. Could you imagine the yells and screams then? Well, wait a minute. He hasn't won in the playoffs, and all of a sudden you're bringing him back not having played at all and putting them in the playoffs? That's not going to happen.
SportsCenter, Mike and Mike, brought to you by Ultimate Software. From pro sports teams to banks to hospitals, all kinds of businesses trust Ultimate Software with their most valuable resource, their people. They offer smart solutions for HR and payroll and talent management that deliver real benefits for your business. Learn more at ultimatesoftware.com/win. Ultimate Software. People first. Ravens and Browns tonight.
Enjoy.
See you tomorrow.
Now with your American Express card, it's 2 times as splendid to shop small at local stores because today is 2 Day and you could earn 2 times your rewards. So now those Main Street beats and corner treats are 2 times as cool and 2 times as sweet. One-of-a-kind finds have 2 times the surprise, and hidden spots are 2 times the tops. There's always a special feeling when you shop small in your neighborhood. And now that it's 2 Day, it feels 2 times as good.
Now through December 31st, you could earn 2 times your rewards when you shop small with an enrolled American Express card. Learn more and enroll at AmericanExpress.com. You will not earn 2 times rewards on any bonus you may already enjoy with your card. Prepaid and corporate cards, cards issued by other financial institutions, the Plum Card, and certain other cards are not eligible. Reward cap and other terms apply.
Learn more and enroll online today at AmericanExpress.com. Get out, get together, and shop small.
College football lives here. It's a huge showdown in the Pac-12 Saturday night. USC, winners of 5 straight, heads to Seattle to face undefeated Washington.
10, touchdown USC, 72 yards, the big play strike.
The Huskies are desperate to prove themselves, and a win against USC will do just that. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Ole Miss heads to College Station Saturday night to face Texas A&M.
Stiff arm, down he goes! Down he goes!
Coverage begins Saturday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.